Hey guys, so for this next video I'm going to be giving you kind of an overview of Studio 2. If you notice, like the inquiry project in Studio 2 kind of went up last week, and I have a lot of people already kind of signing up to do their Studio 2 workshop, but I'm going to give you kind of an overview and a walkthrough of that studio because it is more interactive and it is a little bit more multifaceted than the last studio that we did. So again, the easiest way to get to the studios is to go, you can find them from your calendar too, but you can also go into the modules and scroll down to the bottom and you'll see studios. So I'm going to go with Studio 2 planning. There is a planning portion and a workshop portion. And this is like a face-to-face in my Zoom office with a couple other people, kind of a workshop, okay? So I'm going to start here at the top. What we're doing is kind of some explorative brainstorming to really kind of think and plan out your idea for your inquiry question. You remember we talked about having to pick a topic and then getting it kind of narrowed down to an issue and then trying to figure out for your inquiry question what you need to be able to come up with is an explanation for what it is you want to figure out about this issue. And you can leave a little bit of wiggle room with that as you research. That may change a little bit. But if you just state the issue, it doesn't really give you a direction or a focus. So you want to be able to get to a place where you can say, here's what I want to figure out. So for my example, I did standardized testing. And the question I came up with was, how does standardized testing impact learning? It's not biased. It doesn't assume there's already a problem with standardized testing, like what's wrong with standardized testing, or is standardized testing effective? Because that's kind of a yes or no question, which is very kind of limited, but kind of keeping it open-ended, keeping it unbiased. How does it impact learning? That leaves me to look at people that support testing, people that don't, looking at teachers, students, scholars, test creators, all kinds of different voices trying to come up with kind of an answer to that question. So what we're trying to do is go through a couple of prompts with an issue or issues that you're thinking of, and kind of thinking about where you are and what you maybe need some help with in order to really nail this down. And we did sort of start with the list that everybody each class kind of brainstormed together, a list of some different possible topics and issues, and then we got a little bit more specific with asking people in Studio 1 to go to the Padlet and post some actual sources and comment and look at this big list. So if you're having trouble coming up with a source, go to that Padlet for Studio 1 and see what everybody came up with, because there's a lot of really interesting stuff on that list. So we're going to think about first in this document that you're going to create, and you're welcome to use a Google Doc in your writer's notebook for this, where you are in the decision-making process. So what are you struggling with coming up with an LOI or a line of inquiry or an inquiry question? What is the primary issue you'd like to explore? What other issues might you be considering right now? Where is this issue currently taking place? This one is a little bit more visual because we want to be able to see, if you're saying this is an issue and there's people talking about it and I want to learn about it, I want to see where it's happening. Can you show me a news report of an event that illustrates that this problem is taking place? Can you show me a series of social media posts? Can you show me advertisements? Can you show me debates or clips from debates, not a whole debate, you know what I'm saying? Are there things you can show me that I can see that let me visualize this issue, not just hear you talk about it? It kind of gets at it two ways. So I want to be able to see it. And I gave you some options for how you can do that. You need at least one thing to show us, and you're going to be prepared to show everybody in your group this piece of visual evidence of this issue. You can use primary sources, like news clips, social media posts, flyers, magazine covers, recent interviews, videos of press conferences, music lyrics or videos, movies, commercial clips, advertisements, some kind of first-hand account of something taking place, or tertiary infographics that show a problem or a trend, like a graph that shows a trend rising that illustrates a problem. please do not use overview videos. Like go to YouTube and like look up what this issue is and hear somebody else talk about it, because you're going to talk about it. So don't use like the tertiary overviews. If it's tertiary, it needs to be an infographic. I gave you some issues here if you're maybe looking into like how like advertisements impact body image. Here are two examples. This one's kind of a visual that helps you see like the photoshopping issue, how it like what it actually looks like for the photoshopping to take place, and a very controversial like advertisement that actually shows that like people are concerned. You can look at this advertisement and kind of see like what it's like representing, like are you beach body ready, and this like super thin like model in a bikini, and you can kind of see like what problem might what problem people might have with it. What you already know based on the research you've done and prior knowledge. So you're doing now like the tertiary sources like activity. You might be looking through CQ Researcher, Wikipedia. You might be getting some other sources together and going through those and really starting to like read some things and look at some things. You might be sticking with what you did in Studio One for the Padlet, but you don't have to. You're welcome to move on to something new if you tried it and you're like, not really crazy about it. So you're going to describe like maybe the most useful or surprising things maybe you've learned, and you're going to describe at least 2 relevant things you've read, viewed, listened to get this research started. So it could be like the Wikipedia page and one other thing, one of the sources that you got from it, or CQ Researcher, or you could just use 2 of the sources you got from that activity, something that you read, or possibly your visual evidence. And with this, I ask that everybody just be really specific when you're talking about those 2 sources, not to say like I read some news or I watched some videos, but to state like the title and the author, like where it was from, what it was about. So I read a New York Times article called blah, 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 insert title here. It was about this, and what I thought was really interesting was this. So just to be really specific about those 2 sources that you want to talk about. The 4th prompt is about what assumptions or personal biases you're bringing into the research. And I'm going to jump to the end of this first, so a little out of order. One thing I want to know is that we all have values and opinions when we enter research. There's no such thing as entering a blank slate. So what you want to think about is experiences or personal connections you have with the issue. You may or may not have like direct experiences or personal like experiences and connections and things. I'm going to move this box down just a little bit so you can see. It could also be what kinds of things you might expect to find during your research. Like sometimes if you know, like you assume this is going to be the answer or this is what you're going to find, that kind of tells you what your bias is going to be. And sometimes just it helps just knowing what our biases are, because sometimes like our biases are going to influence the direction our research takes, and it's going to cause us to lean our results and skew them to a certain side. So it's helpful just to be aware of what that is. If you have any like religious or personal values or political opinions that are going to kind of even certain like assumptions or beliefs, like there's a lot of things that can influence the direction that our research takes. It's helpful to kind of get that out and be aware of it. Move this back up before you start. Number 5 is, what do you need to explore? What have you like come across that you need to look more into? So it's sort of getting at the heart of figuring out like, where do I need to go? What could my plan be in my first steps? You'll notice this stuff sounds eerily like the stuff that we've been working on, like with the Wikipedia and the CQ Researcher activity. Thinking about like what you've discovered in terms of like disciplinary or issue specific terms, like policies or laws, like differing perspectives, like if there's a certain perspective or concern like you don't know much about, if there's like background info or current events, like what is it that you feel like you don't know enough yet, or specific things that you know you need to look up. So your planning document should be about 500 words, and you're going to be prompted to turn that in when you come to your workshop. So what you're going to be doing with this is really kind of planning out what your thinking, what different issues you might want to explore, some things about them, and your primary issue that you're really thinking about right now. And then you're going to meet with me and a group of a few other people on Zoom, and we're going to kind of talk and look at your visual evidence and try to give you some help with that. I am asking you to cite using digital means for this. We'll get into more formal like citation methods later, but for now I have some help to kind of show you how to do just the like hyperlinks to your hyperlinked text, not dropping URLs, no URLs, but the hyperlinked text to your sources that you're using. I'm going to go next to the workshop part of this studio. So what's going to happen at the workshop is you're going to be asked to talk for maybe just like 3 to 4 minutes, like using your planning. Please don't just read directly from the planning, but you're going to like show us your visual evidence. Like if it's a video, like 3 to 4 minutes includes any video you want to show. So if it's a clip, like be prepared, like to have that pulled up, to know when you want to start and stop. And it's just talking kind of informally. You're going to use your planning. That's what it's for. Just to kind of walk us through what you're thinking. Again, like show and explain that piece of visual evidence or more. If you have more that you've selected, explain what kind of help you need in terms of making decisions, moving forward. Are there any prompts you really had, trouble with? And give feedback to your peers and talk with them. And that's part of the assessment for this studio is like interacting with peers and really like talking to them and trying to be helpful and asking questions and sharing maybe knowledge that you have or ideas for where they could go, maybe helping them pick between topics. They're going to sign up here. So I'm going to go ahead and open this in a new tab and pull this up. This is the sign up sheet. You can probably see some people have already started signing up for this. They begin next week. I do ask that people, there's a waiting room in the Zoom office, so I do ask that people try to show up a few minutes early, 5 minutes early. I have some space kind of set in between like sessions if we run over, but if you are late, I will have like a cutoff point. Like once we've started, it's going to be really difficult to work in people that are late. So if you are like 5 minutes late and we've already started, I won't be able to allow you into the slot from the waiting room, and you'll need to make up that conference another time or reschedule for a different open slot. In terms of rescheduling, you're welcome to sign up and reschedule as you need to, but it needs to be within a day, and you need to let me know that you are rescheduling. So what happens is if someone signs up for a Monday slot and then right before the slot they realize they're not ready, they'll cancel, reschedule, do it again, cancel, reschedule. So they're just taking up all of these slots that other people possibly need and can't get into. So I always ask that the first thing you do is if you know you can't come, delete your name from the slot. Be courteous so someone else can use it, and reschedule and let me know. There will be kind of a makeup method that I'll talk about in just a minute if you do miss or can't attend. So you're going to bring to the workshop, you're going to have your Google Doc link and your visual evidence to illustrate. Again, it's going to be me and a few other people. It is important that everyone is there on time and kind of ready to go so that we're not getting out late, because it is sort of like, I know it doesn't seem like it, but like 45 minutes for 5 people is not a huge amount of time. Okay, so we have all these slots here. If you're really struggling to find a slot, let me know early. And one of the things that I do kind of say is there are slots open now. The sign-up sheet in the studio has been open since last week. If you wait until like past Monday, like all the open slots are going to probably be Monday because people, want to go later in the week. If you wait until like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to try to sign up and it's full, I'm super sorry about that. I'm not going to be able to work you in. You need to wait for the makeup opportunity. So how should you prepare? Just make sure you know what's in your pre-planning document on the previous page. Make sure you can kind of, talk about it like casually, that like enough about what you put in your pre-planning sheet. You're not having to read from it. Make sure you can talk about your sources and that kind of stuff. know what you need help with, like what you want to kind of explain. Like, here's where you can, help me make some decisions, or I need some help moving forward, figuring out like where I want to go with my research, that kind of stuff. You're welcome to write down like some quick notes for like just the stuff that you want to, you want to say, but it is a brief overview. And then what do I do if I miss my time slot? Later in the week, I'm going to create like a makeup Padlet for people who missed, to post their document in a quick like video of them kind of going through everything. And you'll be prompted to like comment on your other peers. So I'll make an announcement about that kind of later in the week once I know like how many people like need to reschedule and make it up. So I'll announce those plans later in the week, and that is it for this workshop. Peace.